guys, welcome back to Stumblin Forward. I'm one of your hosts, Monica Ortega.
And I'm Kristen Herman.
And today we have a special guest, my good friend Jenny. Now, Jenny Cain is from Nashville, Tennessee, and grew up in a small farm town. She's made a career out of teaching people how to line dance, all the way from her barn dance days to being on stage with Alan Jackson. Her choreography work can be seen in national commercials and even motion pictures. Hi, Jenny. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Of course. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself other than what I just said for you?
I am an entrepreneur. I've always been happy and comfortable doing my own thing. I've tried to do the 9-to-5 jobs before and the corporate thing, and I can do it, but it's just, I've never been happy there. It's always been very restricting to me. So I'm a creative by nature. I feel like I'm happier when I'm able to get outside my box and really think things through and sort of do it my way. So yeah, I've figured out how to make a career out of a couple things so that we might get to talk about. So yeah, I'm just here to offer some good advice and try to help others that are trying to do this too.
So Jenny, when did you start line dancing yourself? Has this been like a general thing your whole life, or did you kind of just fall into it one day? How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, so I grew up, like I said, in a small farm town where we would literally go to the barn dance on the weekends. So we line danced and square danced when I was really young. It was something my mom really got into, and I was young enough to just go with her every weekend. And so we made friends, and that's where we were all throughout
So
my childhood.
fun.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. So what's the actual name of your company for line dancing?
Jenny Cain Productions.
JK Productions.
No, Jenny
Productions.
Sorry, you guys are cutting out on me. I'm sorry. What was it?
It's Jenny Cain Productions.
Perfect.
So
Awesome.
I just wanted to throw out a little side note too, that Miss Jenny Cain is literally the reason for everything that I've done, because she put me in the Alan Jackson music video, which blew up. We ended up on the CMA Awards, which got me into acting, which brought me to California, which turned into the travel show and hosting and everything. So everything I've done in entertainment literally goes back to this girl right here.
Wow, I had no idea that was, I just watched the video too. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like this huge, and I remember, because I watched it and it's this line of people, right? And it's like, was this like actually that many people, or was it kind of like sliced and diced to make it look that way? Because I remember you telling me that it was this huge line, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is the video. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say Monica would have gotten there without me. I promise you. Sounded very creative. So the deal with the dance in the video, we had over 200 dancers. Okay. So that is one of the larger productions that Nashville has ever done, as far as dance goes. I personally was able to train all of them. We filmed over 2 weeks all over the city. So the splicing and dicing did happen with putting the line together, but there were 200 dancers on any given day. So it was
still a lot of extras and a lot of dancers. So that's crazy. That's great.
So how did that change everything for you?
Oh, good question.
That was a big video.
Yeah. Well, I think it put me on the map as far as an instructor, a choreographer here in Nashville. Once you've done a big production like that and worked with bigger directors, you don't get questioned so much. When someone sees a resume and they see that, then they just sort of hire you. You don't really have to go through a lot of the same processes. So I think for me, it just sort of gave me a name in this community. There was a lot of just kind of automatic respect that was given, which I thought was incredible because I wasn't expecting that at all. And I think just that reputation alone has helped me get more and more jobs.
That's awesome.
And so with Jenny Cain Productions, do you feel like there was any challenges getting started even after the music video had already been released? Do you feel like it was kind of all at once, or do you feel like it was any challenges that you came across?
Yes. At first, it was all at once. At first, it was very overwhelming because every dancer in town wanted to know me and wanted to be in anything that I did. that was a little overwhelming because I was used to just pulling teeth trying to get people to be in things. And so what I didn't realize at the time is a lot of the production world is very seasonal. So some months you might have 13 jobs where the next month you might have 2, so that was the struggle that I started to face, was just trying to figure out budget, trying to figure out, okay, so there's only a few things happening. Like for instance, the month of December, there's not usually a lot of productions that are happening in a holiday season like that. So, there would be a December where I would have one thing or maybe nothing. So figuring that out took a little time.
Now, did you go full time with the production company after the video, or has it been like lots of different jobs at the same time, or back and forth and up and down?
Yeah, good question. No, I did not go full time. I was teaching at the Wild Horse Saloon downtown, which is where I originally met Monica. She taught there too. So anyway, I was teaching there. So I went down to part-time so I could still do that. But what I found over time is the seasonal thing was tough. It was tough. So I ended up starting another company where it was totally different. I started working with properties and large property management, things like that. So I just kind of always found ways to make ends meet because it's just what we do as entrepreneurs. We're always thinking, how can we make this better? How can we make more money? How can we still use our creative minds and not be stuck in a job that we hate? So I just had to figure it out. I think that's what we do when we move forward,
That's awesome.
It's great. It's great to also be able to do a job that, you personally love. And line dancing sounds like an amazing job, just to like, one, exercise, two, just good music. Like there's just a lot of great things for that. So if somebody was wanting to either get into line dancing or just even opening up their own like line dancing production studio, what would you tell them in advice?
Well, I think it all depends on your location. You need to know your audience. In Nashville, it was a very easy fit because we found very quickly that corporate events, weddings, things like that, when they come to the South, they want to do something country. So you really have to figure out who your audience is and figure out how to be what they need, right? So if you're in an area where line dance isn't that big, it's going to be more of a struggle, Actually, side note, I did live near Chicago for about a year. Cool. And tried to do this up there and it was not as easy. So
it's a little bit different in the Chicago area, I'm sure. People are not like, actually I was surprised at how often people line danced in LA. And yeah, because and that's where I was like, that's where Monica and I would, she taught me line dancing once in a while in LA, but Chicago, it's like, line dancing, I don't know. So you have to maybe come out and try again and maybe people will get into it. I don't know.
Funny is I actually did book work. There were people interested. It wasn't like Nashville where there's just a huge drive for it. But yeah, I would say just know your audience, know your location, be smart about your marketing. Really try to target the people that you're trying to build that audience with,
I feel like that's good advice too, no matter what you're doing, is to know your audience and know the market and make sure that there's, a need for the things that you're offering as well. What kind of lessons have you learned or mistakes did you make in this crazy journey?
Oh gosh, so many. One of the most important things I would say, always do a contract, even if you're working with friends or a venue that you have a relationship with. It's easy to just say, oh, okay, let's just, and not have it in writing. That can really save you all kinds of things. Like if you put it in writing, even if it's just the date and the time and how much you're getting paid, that's going to save you from any sort of miscommunication with that person. It's going to, everything will be in front of both of you. And I think that's important. There's been too many times where I got burned with not having a contract. So I would say that's super important. The other thing I would do is get an accountant as soon as you can afford one. I don't care how big your company is, you're going to need help with taxes. Running your own business is tough when it comes to what the government requires. That you may think you know what you're doing. It's just, it's not as expensive as you think to have an accountant, someone that can sort of make sure you're doing the paperwork correct. I would say that's something I wish I would have done way earlier on, is to have help.
Do you feel like it was difficult to find that accountant and like to trust the person in the sense of like knowing what you need for your company? Because I feel like that also changes with different companies as well, right? I'm not a tax expert as well. I would definitely need an accountant.
I got burned really bad because I had a entertainment accountant that cut too many corners, and I ended up getting audited and owing way more than had I just gotten a legit accountant from the beginning. So I feel like that's the contracts and the accountant. That's such good practical advice. So many times we ask this question and everyone's like, just believe in yourself and keep going. And that's great advice too. But like real practical, real life advice is super, super good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's a good question, Kristen. I will say, yeah, I asked around quite a bit, people that here in Nashville, like, you know, musicians, choreographers, anybody that's in my industry. I ask around, who do you use? Tell me about that person. And I actually met with a few people before I found this lady, and she ended up just being incredible. She had already done the same things I needed for lots of other people. So she already knew, you know, the answers to my questions before I asked. She had already done it for somebody else. So even just recently, like when the small business loans started going out, she had already walked through a couple of other her clients through that. And so when I went to her, she said, okay, here's what you're going to need to do. Download this, go here, you know. So that was helpful. I mean, it's just, and I felt immediately that I could trust her. We had a connection. So I think I would say, you know, interview, so to speak, a couple different ones, see where you connect and how you feel, and most importantly, get references, you know, make sure it's someone other people trust.
Yeah. And kudos for you for doing that, because a lot of people would just be like, oh, I found one. That's it, you know, but no, really, no. And I'm not saying that to you again. I'm not saying that to you, Monica. Sorry.
No, but I did that.
But I do think like it's the same thing with a lot of things in the industry as well as entrepreneur. You have to research, you have to ask questions, you have to interview the person that you are hiring, and it sometimes is really hard. So I think that that's great that you said that. But where do you see your production company in 5 years from now?
Oh man, this question is always so hard for me, because every time I plan, I feel like it kind of, 2020 happens or something.
No, please, not another 2020.
I mean, obviously, I think everybody that owns a company wants it to grow, wants it to be even more special than it is. And I would say the same. You know, I would like to see it get to a place where I could step down a little bit, maybe put it a little more in the hands of some other people that I work with. You know, that's always the dream, right? Is to get it to a place where you don't really have to work as hard, but you can enjoy the fruits of what you've got going on and how hard you have worked. So, yeah, I would hope that it would get to that point, and that it would continue to build the reputation that we already have in this community, and that would you know, that we would be the company that people look to for this. So, yeah.
I like that. And also it's just, you know, being able to, I'm sure you have a lot of employees, and again, it's all about trust and knowing that someone is going to really like take your baby and then also make it better, you know, like improve on it as well as keep the, you know, it alive. So that's really great. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to share?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Sorry, Monica.
Oh, did Monica have something?
I didn't know.
We were both just trying to ask the same question at the same time.
Question at the same time. We should have said it at the same time next time.
Yeah, there's a couple other little tidbits I'd like to just, as far as advice, you know, something with the dance company. You know, I think I mentioned we started doing corporate events. We started coming into wedding receptions and teaching dance, and I started building a lot of relationships with venues and sort of cutting them in if they would promote us, you know, like let's say it's a venue that has a lot of corporate events, well, I just sort of struck a deal with them and said, hey, I'll cut you guys in, give you a lower rate if you package us in your services. So I figured out a way to let others do my marketing for me. So that way I have all these venues all over town that are packaging us as something they offer. And so they're promoting it, and their marketing budget is going into that. I found that to be, and I sort of accidentally fell into that, but I felt like that was a really wise thing that we ended up doing. So building relationships, I think, is always super duper important. I know people preach marketing and putting all your money into marketing. I really would say market smart. If there's a way you can build a relationship with someone that can promote your business, do that, but also be ready to give service back to them. If you get a call, like a DJ company might package my service. And if I get a call for a DJ and that's not something I do, guess who I'm going to point them to? So, I think things like that, building relationship, is huge. I've become a person that, or a company rather, that people can really depend on to hand service back to them. And so that has really secured our relationship and in our businesses. So that, I think that's a very important thing for people to do when you're just starting out, is make sure your name is really, really clean with people, and people love and are happy with your services, and they know you're going to get back to them.
That's amazing advice.
It really is.
How do I do that for my travel show?
No, that's amazing. It really is. It's all about, being able to make those connections, but also having them respect you and keeping those promises or whatever you're making, and that's really good advice.
Or building them up too, because it truly is, if we all rise together, and it's much better to look at things that way instead of this person's my competition and those types of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think having your eye on the industry as a whole, like here in Nashville, we, this is, I guess it's sort of under the hospitality industry, all the restaurants, the venues, the entertainment, we all work together to entertain the same crowds that come to Nashville, the hotels, so I build relationship with hotels because their concierge may get asked, hey, we're a bachelorette party, where can we get some line dance lessons, and that concierge knows me, right? So just building those relationships are important. The other thing I was going to say along the same lines is making sure that the people that work for you, or the people in your company, are doing the job as if you would do it, unless sorry, I said that wrong. Doing the job unless like it was you there. So they're doing as you would do it. And I think that's important, because I don't hire people that aren't passionate about dance.
I hope they're passionate about dance.
I'm very, very clear when I hire someone on, here's the expectation. And if that is ever not met, if they're not showing up to an event on time, for instance, if they are saying one thing and doing another, or they're half doing their job, they don't work for me, because this is my name on this company. This is my company that a venue is going to call again, maybe. So, I need to know they're going to do the job as if it were me there. So I would rather just be me and have no employees than have lots of work and tons of employees and them doing a crappy job, So I think that's another reason why maybe I've stayed kind of small with the people that work for me, because I only have people that do an incredible job, that have great attitudes. So I don't know, not every company can afford to do it that way, but I think for me, it's been huge.
That's definitely big, especially in the entertainment and hospitality industry, because like you said, people are calling you for their parties, to have a good time, to create those memories. And if it's a bad memory, that comes back to you, and it's a small town. So when people talk, you want them to be talking good stuff.
Exactly.
Yes.
Great. So
yes. That'll build over time. I mean, you'll have people call you that haven't used you in 2 years, but just because they hadn't had a need for it, and then they remembered how great their interaction and how great your service was, and they'll call you. So you just never know. Or that person may hear somewhere else that needs an instructor and they're going to say your name. So, my thing is just do 110% every time, send your best people, and just keep that reputation as high as you can.
That's awesome. That's great advice, and that's amazing. So where can we find you? Are you on any social media platforms, or as well as your website?
Yeah, so it's JennyCainProductions.com is my website, and that's Cain is Cain and Jenny with a Y. So Jenny Cain Productions, and that's also my Instagram. So at Jenny Cain Productions.
Perfect. Easy enough. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Jenny. And we had such just great advice. And I love hearing about just the passion about dance. That's just so unique to have a production company that you love the product as well as just having the entrepreneurship. So thank you. And if you want to hear this podcast, go on Spotify. You can follow us. And if you want to leave 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, we'll be on there. This video will be up on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces. And my name is Kristen Herman. I'm one of your hosts.
And I'm Monica Ortega.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye.